Hey everybody, I got another paper I thought I'd read to you. Today we're back here behind the barn, my little shooting range back here. You can see it back there. Thought I'd read a little paper about preparedness that I wrote. It's a day late and a dollar short since the stuff with Hurricane Helene's going on, but I figured I'd read it anyway because it applies no matter what time of the hurricane season or what's going on. So here you go. The importance of preparedness and why it's becoming mainstream. This is part one. With the recent Hurricane Helene ravaging the American Southeast, from Florida up through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, I started thinking about the importance of preparedness. I didn't just start thinking about it, it's something I'm always thinking about. I use the term preparedness instead of prepping because for many years, if you were a prepper, you were looked at by some as a fringe, paranoid individual. As a kid, I remember reading about prepping in the old Soldier of Fortune magazine. For some, the term prepper conjures up images of tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorists, folks that live isolated in rural areas and hoard guns and ammo waiting for a zombie apocalypse or fantasizing about a Red Dawn type scenario. I'm a big fan of Red Dawn as anybody. I've never considered myself a prepper, but as a young Marine in 1993, I was stationed at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, North Carolina, with my wife and 3-year-old daughter. We experienced the first, got some flies here. We experienced the first of what would become a lot of hurricanes throughout my time in the Marine Corps, living all over the country, usually stationed on the coast. We knew it was coming. Our neighbors and friends who had been in North Carolina for a little while were going to the store and stock up on non-perishable food, water, and of course the always essential bread, milk, and eggs, and you fill your vehicle up with gas. That storm turned out not to be so bad. We lost power for a couple days, and it was basically just a couple days off work for people in the military. Later, hurricanes we went through in North Carolina and Florida were a lot worse, and we got pretty good at getting ready for them, to the point where it was nothing more than just an inconvenience. Power went out a couple days, got a couple days off work, ate a couple sardines and some cans of soup, and that was it. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast. She took 1,392 lives and leveled communities in a 12-hour period. But that's not the worst part. The worst part came when those who had not evacuated, not prepared, not taken it seriously, and not taken personal responsibility were trapped, scared, hungry, panicked, and trying to survive. Then on top of that, you had the criminal activity. Tens of thousands were sheltered in the Superdome. Inside the Superdome, people started robbing, beating, and raping each other. New Orleans police were seen driving around in Cadillacs that they'd stolen from dealerships. Countless videos of looting, breaking, and entering happened all over the area. If that wasn't bad enough, a state of martial law was enacted. Police were taking weapons from people who were in no way in violation of any laws. They started violating the Second Amendment, an oath in which they swore to protect, which is concerning. U.S. Navy and Coast Guard helicopters that were trying to deliver food and water to people trapped on rooftops were shot at by citizens on the ground. If they tried to land to deliver the supplies, they were overrun. They had to drop the cases of water and MREs, which caused much of the water. It caused much of the water to explode when it hit the ground. It was complete social breakdown and a state of anarchy. Much of it due to individuals that didn't take it seriously and evacuate, or at the very least have a few cans of food and drinkable water to sustain them. Forget the fringe idea of paranoid prepper waiting for a zombie apocalypse. Look at Katrina. Total collapse of society that resulted in anarchy in less than 24 hours. That was in 2005, over 19 years ago. Since then, I noticed a trend in people taking the initiative and getting ready for a natural disaster, which is really prepping or preparedness more seriously. I've noticed more and more people that live in urban, suburban, and metro areas doing a lot more to not become a victim. Even if it's just having a few extra gallons of water, non-perishable food, hygiene items, a way to cook, stay warm, have light, charge batteries, and communicate with no electricity or public service. More and more average Americans are realizing that when things go bad, they cannot rely on the government. No one is coming to help you. There's a book by Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann called "No One Is Coming to Help You." I think that's the name of it. I suggest people read it. It's a common phrase in preparedness circles. And don't look at prepping or preparedness like it was viewed in the past. As I write this, there are people trapped in the mountains of North Carolina because they can't get out. And like I said, I wrote this right as the hurricanes were hitting. And many of them are in danger from all kinds of different things. Their homes are destroyed and everything, but some of them have no danger from flooding. Their property is intact and they're not going to freeze to death. But yet they're in serious trouble because they don't have enough food, baby formula, medicine, drinking water, and they can't get out due to the roads or bridges being destroyed. My point in writing this is that it's your responsibility and yours alone to be prepared for natural disasters and other situations, which I'll get into in part 2, where you cannot rely on the government or others to come to your aid. If everyone took responsibility, it would enable emergency services to rescue those that really need rescued. It might enable you, instead of becoming a victim, to be able to come to the aid of others. If everybody took a little bit of time and did just a little bit of due diligence to get themselves ready for something like this, I realize that in North Carolina, there's nothing that some of them, that stuff's never happened before. That area of the world has never seen anything like that before. So you can't blame them. And a lot of those people up there are prepared. They're prepared for 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month, but nobody could have prepared them for total loss of their house, total loss of their supplies. But if everybody did a little bit, it would enable emergency services to be able to do their job instead of having to come and rescue somebody because they're run out of water. There's really no excuse for running out of water. You can put several gallons of water away. Anybody can do that, whether you live in New York City in an apartment or you live on a farm in Ohio. So I would encourage everybody, especially with the election coming up, and we're looking at massive, I've said it before, and a lot of people probably think I'm crazy. We're going to be looking at massive civil unrest that's going to make 2020, the George Floyd riots, look like child's play. We could be experiencing cyber attacks. It's the time that anybody would attack us if they have any sense. China, Iran. If we had major, massive cyber and coordinated kinetic attacks on our country, you're going to need some water, you're going to need some food, and you're going to need to be able to rely on yourself. And it's upon every American to be able to rely on yourself. Do not rely on the government. We've seen what FEMA has not done and what American citizens have done in North Carolina. So I hope some people listen to this and take it to heart. And nobody's saying you got to build a bunker and be a complete nut job, but have some stuff to take care of yourself. You should be able to take care of your family in time of emergency and power outages and whatnot. Have a generator. If you live up here in Ohio, what if we have an ice storm, a blizzard? You're going to need at least a few days of supplies. You know, you can't rely on somebody with a snowmobile to come and rescue you. And besides, even if they do, where are you going to go? You know, be able to survive in your own property, in your own house, and have the medicines, the supplies, the food, the water to get by for a while. Nobody's saying you got to be able to survive for years and years on end like an apocalypse, but you should be able to get by for a while. And we've seen enough of this stuff in the past that there's nothing new. So take care. Everybody take care. And another thing, get to know your neighbors. Your neighbors can help you. Make friends with your neighbors. Go down the street and shake hands with your neighbor. How many people live in a cul-de-sac, or like I live out here in the middle of nowhere, but I have neighbors. I know most of my neighbors. Some of them bring me garden vegetables. Some of them do other things for us, and we do things for them. It's a good idea because you're going to need help. You're not going to be able to do it on your own, especially if everything completely goes to shit. Anyhow, Gunny out. Everybody take care.